Okay.
Nama Om Vishnu Padayam Krishna Prestayam Bhutale Guru Dasa Jayādvaita Swamin iti namine. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami iti namine. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesham Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Garadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrindam Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jayam Vishnupad Paramamsa Parivrajaka Acharya Shtotra Shatra Srimad Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Paramamsa Parivrajaka Acharya Shtotra Shatra Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada Ki Jai. Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaur Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shyamakund Radhakund Giri Govardhana Ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. All glories to some of devotees, all glories to some of devotees, all glories to some of devotees.
Welcome everybody to Srimad Bhagavatam with His Holiness Jayādvaita Swami. It is Wednesday, July 16th, 2025. Today we're starting with text 36. Is that right?
36.
Just going off the chat. That's what it looks like.
Yes.
Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay, 36. Abir Indro Pasam Sutai Bakander Haribir Janam Raya Manam Vichaksvainam Yaste Yagyadrug Asvamut. Translation. Just see how Indra, the king of heaven, was creating a disturbance in the midst of the sacrifice by stealing the sacrificial horse. These attractive, sinful activities he has introduced will be carried out by the people in general. Purport. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 3:21, Yad Yad Acharati Shretas Tad Tad Evataro Jana Sayat Pramanam Kurte Lokostad Anuvartate. Whatever action is performed by a great man, common men follow in his footsteps, and whatever standards he sets by exemplary acts, all the world pursues. Okay. Is there something we should pause there? Any comments there, Ramaj? You have a long purport.
Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutade Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gaudamani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pastrija Deshatana. Well, I think I'll hold off. Actually, we can read a little bit more. We've hardly gotten started with this purport.
Yep. For his own sense gratification, King Indra thought to defeat Maharaj Prithu in the performance of 100 horse sacrifices. Consequently, he stole the horse and hid himself amid so many irreligious personalities, taking on the false guise of a sannyasi. Such activities are attractive to the people in general. Therefore, they are dangerous. Lord Brahma thought that instead of allowing Indra to further introduce such irreligious systems, it would be better to stop the sacrifice. A similar stance was taken by Lord Buddha when people were overly engrossed in the animal sacrifices recommended by Vedic instructions. Lord Buddha had to introduce the religion of nonviolence by contradicting the Vedic sacrificial instructions. Actually, in the sacrifices, the slaughtered animals were given a new life, but people without such powers were taking advantage of such Vedic rituals and unnecessarily killing poor animals. Therefore, Lord Buddha had to deny the authority of the Vedas for the time being. One should not perform sacrifices that will induce reversed orders. It is better to stop such sacrifices.
Yeah, now we can say something. The Hari B, these sinful activities are attractive. There's a certain attractiveness to sinful life. And when it's flamboyant and what would you say, outrageous, and then it's taken as being great. Someone is revolutionary, because he's stood up against the authority. So that happens in religious life also. Somebody defies all this hackneyed old literature, all these old rules and regulations, and stands up for revolutionary spiritual values. The soul is pure, and so whatever the soul desires is also pure. Whatever sexual impulses he feels and however he chooses to express them should be regarded as sacred. That's attractive to people. That very doctrine, the one I just described, was a heresy that arose in Italy. I forget exactly when. And it was taking the countryside by storm. Some priests came up with this idea, and you can imagine how attractive it was to the sexually inclined members of, well, members that everyone's sexually inclined, but there was it got a wide following, because now you could be both religious and lusty. So, or religious and fully engaged in lustful activities. So these things are attractive. We saw, it was mentioned the other day, that some rascal from Pune who said that, whatever you desire, that's dharma. So these things are attractive to people in the lower modes of nature, people who are fools and rascals. Hari bhi, Hari bhi Pakandhar Hari bhir janam Kriyamanam vichakshvayanam. So therefore, King Ritu is advised that we need to act in such a way that these things will be stopped. Hare Krishna.
In the chat, Praveen Prabhu writes, Loke Yaiva Yamisa Madhya Siva Nitya hi Jantor Nahi Tatra Chodana Yaivasti Tistesu Vivaha Yagya Saragrahir Ashu Nivritir Ishta. In this material world, the conditioned soul is always inclined to sex, meat eating, and intoxication. Therefore, religious scriptures never actually encourage such activities. Although the scriptural injunctions provide for sex through sacred marriage, for meat eating through sacrificial offerings, and for intoxication through the acceptance of ritual cups of wine, such ceremonies are meant for the ultimate purpose of renunciation.
Yeah. So these things are permitted because the tendency is there, but they're regulated by Vedic guidance, that there's some restrictions. But you can have it, but under restriction. But the revolutionaries say, why restriction? This is just some old, dusty, irrelevant religious dogma. So another example, in the 1960s, one Harvard professor was preaching hallucinogens as a doorway to religious experience. One could make spiritual discoveries by taking intoxicants. And that became hugely popular. It took over, widely influential in the mid-1960s, late 1960s, because intoxication, it's quite the experience. And now it's not only a wonderful experience, but it's spiritual. So if we can have illicit sex, intoxication, and so on, as religion, then it's wonderful. This is the preaching of those who are way off course. So they're indicated here to be followers of the deviations of Lord Indra. And so again, this creates a disturbance. Yapashandi Bhavedruva. What is that? Upataya Vakolpate. So therefore, Brahma's advising that we have to stop this. And simply killing Indra is not the way to do it. Hare Krishna.
Saraswati Mataji writes, Namaskaram Puja Maharaj and all the Vaishnavas. The Bhattataris are Pakundis that even a Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's personal servant, Krishnadas.
Yes. And it gets really degraded. People in the mode of ignorance. What is that? Anyway, I'm missing a verse, but they'll perform all sorts of gruesome and degraded activities, and for them this is religion. Dharmam dharmam itiya manyate tamasavrata sarvartan viparitam va buddhisa artharajasi, tamasy, like that. Those in passion are confused about what religion is and what irreligion is, and those in ignorance get it backwards. Viparit, sarvartam viparitam, buddhisa parta tamasi. So in that category, you find, people chopping up their neighbors to offer the corpse to Kali, or the dacoits who wanted to sacrifice Shadbharat to Kali. So all of these things, then so many things, all in the mode of ignorance. And this goes on as religion, and it's attractive because it's attractive to whom? To people in the mode of ignorance, or people in the modes of passion. Hare Krishna.
Saraswati Maharaj.
Yes, Maharaj Shri, I'm not going to name which one of the four bona fide, it's not our sampradaya, but another bona fide Vaishnava sampradaya. There's been quite a bit of stir and upheaval in that sampradaya because Netflix have featured a documentary that, and it can be confirmed because it turned into a court case where one of their Goswamis, who used to actually was so popular, bringing in so much donation, and he was, but yet behind the scenes he was partaking in all kinds of debauchery and all kinds of illicit behavior, so much so that he ended up getting STD. And because this took place under the British Raj, some people took, there was a lawyer, and it happened to his fiancée that this became a victim, and he took this to the courts. And, it's all in the court case records in Mumbai. And of course, this Goswami was partly denying it and partly thinking that because he was an incarnation of Krishna, he was entitled to having his pick of any woman, any young girl. Anyway, because it's recorded and confirmed. There's a case number attached to that, and it took the doctor who treated him for STD to come onto the witness stand and say that, yeah, this is exactly what happened. Anyway, the upheaval is that the current people in that parampara were trying to, they went to the Netflix headquarters and tried to protest and say, no, you shouldn't be showing this kind of documentary. And all the more, in fact, it had the reverse effect, and more people, in fact, wanted to watch it. But it was quite horrific. I just heard about it, but the details were horrific, and how people could be fooled into thinking that this was all right. Hare Krishna.
This is a famous case in Bombay. And especially made more famous by those who are anti-religious or anti-Hindu. But in any case, deserving to be famous, because it is a perversion of religious principles. But we see such things going on, and their sampradaya is not unique. In the so-called Chaitanya Sampradaya, the deviant sects do these same things, the Sahajas, and scholars who, some scholars don't discriminate. Yes, they're also Gaudiya Vaishnavas, but they're rejected by Rupa Goswami, Shruti Smriti Puranani, Utpataya Gopate. But they do the same thing. In Radhakund, the same thing is going on. And elsewhere in Vrindavan, these things go on. So it's universal. I cited a case from Italy, and in the Catholic world, we have examples in the Hindu world, in the Christian world, the examples are there. I'm sure one can find it just about anywhere. One takes advantage of one's position as a religious or social or political or educational leader. Same things go on in the universities from time to time. The scandals come out, how this or that professor is taken advantage of a vulnerable student. So it's everywhere. This tendency to defy moral and religious principles, and then sometimes even call it a religion. So these things are there. By the way, Prabhupada says one should not perform sacrifices that will induce reversed orders. The phrase is not exactly clear. I was going to look at the manuscript and see what it actually said, but it means that will bring about, that will make things backwards. That will bring about the reverse of the proper order. That's the idea.
Okay. Moving on to the next part of the purport. As we have repeated, Guru Maharaj, are you looking for it?
Well, now that I got started, I thought I would. Hold on a second. Let's see what we find. We're just about there. Yeah, sacrifices which would induce reverse orders. So, yeah, it's not entirely clear, but that's the meaning that I take from it, that viparitam, things that are reverse of what they should be. Hare Krishna.
As we have repeatedly explained, due to a lack of qualified Brahminical priests in Kali Yuga, it is not possible to perform the ritualistic ceremonies recommended in the Vedas. Consequently, the Shastras instruct us to perform the Sankirtan Yajna. By the Sankirtan sacrifice, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in his form of Lord Chaitanya, will be satisfied and worshipped. The entire purpose of performing sacrifices is to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu. Lord Vishnu, or Lord Krishna, is present in his form of Lord Chaitanya. Therefore, people who are intelligent should try to satisfy him by performing Sankirtan Yajna. This is the easiest way to satisfy Lord Vishnu in this age. People should take advantage of the injunctions in different shastras concerning sacrifices in this age and not create unnecessary disturbances during the sinful age of Kali. In Kali Yuga, men all over the world are very expert in opening slaughterhouses for killing animals, which they eat. If the old ritualistic ceremonies were observed, people would be encouraged to kill more and more animals. In Calcutta, there are many butcher shops which keep a deity of the goddess Kali, and animal eaters think it proper to purchase animal flesh from such shops in hope that they are eating the remnants of food offered to goddess Kali. They do not know that the goddess Kali never accepts non-vegetarian food because she is the chaste wife of Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva is also a great Vaishnava and never eats non-vegetarian food, and the goddess Kali accepts the remnants of food left by Lord Shiva. Therefore, there is no possibility of her eating flesh or fish. Such offerings are accepted by the associates of the goddess Kali, known as Bhutas, Pisachas, and Rakshasas, and those who take the prasad of the goddess Kali in the shape of flesh or fish are not actually taking the prasad left by the goddess Kali, but the food left by the Bhutas and Pisachas.
Yes, there's some so-called religious mission that promotes meat eating, even for sannyasis, under logic like this. It's Kali Prasad. But as Prabhupada points out here, it's not Kali Prasad because Kali doesn't accept such things. But Lord Shiva is surrounded by ghosts, witches, hobgoblins, wild creatures, and they eat all of these things. So we offer the fish and meat to Goddess Kali, the Rakshasas and Pretas and Bhutas accept it, and then we take it as Kali Prasad. That's Prabhupada's point. Hare Krishna.
Praveen Prabhu writes, the food offered to Lord Jagannath at Puri is first honored by Bimala Devi and then sent out for sale.
Yes. Kali is pleased by Jagannath Prasad. She's a Vaishnavi. She's not after flesh and fish and all these nasty things. She's after Jagannath Prasad.
Praveen Prabhu writes, of course, they do not even offer aloo, nothing to speak of other objectionable items.
Yeah. Tomato, aloo, so many things. Oh, yes, Hare Krishna.
Madhupati Prabhu, are you available to read 37?
Okay. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhuta Vikrita Jayādvaita Swami. Bhavan paritratum iha vartino dharmam jananam samayanurupam vena pacharad avaluptamadya taddehato Vishnu kalasi vainya. Translation. O King Prithu, son of Vena, you are the part and parcel expansion of Lord Vishnu. Due to the mischievous activities of King Vena, religious principles were almost lost. At that opportune moment, you descended as the incarnation of Lord Vishnu. Indeed, for the protection of religious principles, you have appeared from the body of King Vena. Purport. The way in which Lord Vishnu kills the demons and protects the faithful is mentioned in Bhagavad Gita, 4th chapter, 8th verse. Paritana sadhunam vinascha chaduskatam dharma sanstapna arthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. In order to deliver the pious and to annihilate the miscreants, as well as to re-establish the principles of religion, I myself appear millennium after millennium. In two hands, Lord Vishnu always carries a club and a chakra to kill demons. And his other two hands, he holds a conch-shell and lotus to give protection to his devotees. When his incarnation is present on this planet or in this universe, the Lord kills the demons and protects his devotees simultaneously. Sometimes Lord Vishnu appears in his person as Lord Krishna or Lord Rama. All of these appearances are mentioned in the Shastras. Sometimes he appears as a Sakyavesh avatar, like Lord Buddha. As explained before, these Sakyavesh avatars are incarnations of Vishnu's power invested in a living entity. Living entities are also part and parcel of Lord Vishnu, but they are not as powerful. Therefore, when a living entity descends as an incarnation of Vishnu, he is especially empowered by the Lord. When King Prithu is described as an incarnation of Lord Vishnu, it should be understood that he is a Sakyavesh avatar, part and parcel of Lord Vishnu, and is specifically empowered by him. Any living being acting as the incarnation of Lord Vishnu is thus empowered by Lord Vishnu to preach the Bhakti cult. Such a person can act like Lord Vishnu and defeat demons by arguments and preach the Bhakti cult exactly according to the principles of Shastra. As indicated in Bhagavad Gita, whenever we find someone extraordinary preaching the Bhakti cult, we should know that he is especially empowered by Lord Vishnu or Lord Krishna. As confirmed in Chaitanya Chaitamrita, until Leela 7th chapter 11th verse, Krishna Sakti Vina Nahi Tara Pravartan. One cannot explain the glories of the holy names of the Lord without being specifically empowered by him. If one criticizes or finds fault with such an empowered personality, one is to be considered an offender against Lord Vishnu and is punishable. Even though such offenders may dress as a Vaishnavas with false tilak and mala, they are never forgiven by the Lord if they offend a pure Vaishnava. There are many instances of this in the Shastras. Om Jnanatimandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshulmitan Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. So here Lord Brahma mentioning to Pitu Maharaj, it is part and parcel expansion of Lord Vishnu. Lord Vishnu, when he empowers somebody to become part and parcel, a living entity is also a part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, but he is infinitesimal, where the Lord is infinite. But when he empowers a special power, is called Sakyavesh Avatar, one category of incarnations of the Lord. And King Prithu Maharaj is considered as a Sakyavesh Avatar of the Supreme Lord. He was the son of King Vena, and especially when King Vena was killed, because in his kingdom so many irreligious activities started flourishing. So religious principles were almost lost. So from the churning of his body, then came Prithu Maharaj as the partial expansion of the Supreme Lord or the Sakyavesh Avatar to protect religious principles, as Srila Prabhupada mentions, quotes the Bhagavad Gita verse, 8th verse of 4th chapter, Paritanya sadhana vinachacha duskatam, dharma sansapnartha sambhavami yoge yoge. So the Lord descends millennium after millennium to establish religious principles, dharma sansapnarthaya, and Simultaneously, he gives protection, paritana sadhana, gives protection to the devotees and annihilates the miscreants. Vinasha cha duskatam. Right. So, the religious principles had declined during King Bena's time and had to be re-established. And the Lord descended as the Shaktavesh avatar of Lord Vishnu. Yeah. Anything else, Gurman, you would like to add?
One doesn't have to read very deeply between the lines here. Krishna Shakti Bina Nahitar Pravartan. Srila Prabhupada is stating, matter-of-factly, that spreading Krishna consciousness all over the world is not possible. Krishna Shakti Bina, without direct empowerment by Krishna. Krishna Shakti Bina Nahe Tar Pravartan. One can't spread the glories of Krishna unless one is specifically empowered by Lord Krishna. So, as often happens, we need some guidance from Srila Prabhupada to understand what should be obvious to us. So Prabhupada has given the framework that they're Shakti-Vesh avatars, that they're empowered by Lord Vishnu. They're a kind of incarnation. They're not the Lord, but they represent the Lord by displaying extraordinary power. And he tells us that this is one of the ways that the power is displayed, by spreading the glories of the holy name of the Lord, which is not possible without Krishna Shakti, without direct empowerment by Krishna. So it's left to us to put all this together and understand where this applies. Doesn't really take a lot of, what's the word? A lot of smarts to figure this out, to see that Srila Prabhupada did this, that he spread the glories of the name of Krishna all over the world, and that therefore he should be recognized as an incarnation of Krishna in the sense of being empowered by Krishna. Prabhupada never took the position that he was God, that he was Vishnu. That would be contrary to religious principles. Instead, Prabhupada presents a person who shows great power received from Krishna also represents Krishna, and may be called Shaktivesh Avatar. Srila B.R. Sridhar Maharaj articulated this, that Srila Prabhupada was a Shaktivesh Avatar. And but it was already here in the purports to Chaitanya Charitamrita that when you see this kind of extraordinary spreading of Krishna consciousness by a particular devotee, then we have to recognize that devotee as having received power directly from Krishna. And those who are supposed to be Vaishnavas and who instead offend, find fault with such a person are, what should we say? Well, Prabhupada says, offenders against Vishnu and punishable. So Prabhupada's speaking obliquely but strongly and truthfully. Hare Krishna.
This is from earlier. Saraswati Mataji writes, Pushti Margis won't eat watermelon as it looks like meat. Venkatesh Prabhu writes, maybe another such instance in history as a great Vaishnava, Srila Haridas Thakur, being offended by Ramachandra Khan, who got punished by Nityananda Prabhu.
Yes.
Pradesha Prabhu, are you available?
Yeah, I can read 38. Sattvam vamrishyasya bhavam prajapate sankalpanam vishvasrajam piprihi aindring chamayam upadharma mataram prachanda pakhanda patam prabhojahi. O protector of the people in general, please consider the purpose of your being incarnated by Lord Vishnu. The irreligious principles created by Indra are but mothers of so many unwanted religions. Please therefore stop these imitations immediately. Lord Brahma addresses King Prithu. Sorry, I hope I don't know if Zoom is canceling the background noise. My son is shouting next to me. But anyway, I will
You're
continue.
fine.
Okay. Lord Brahma addresses King Prithu as Prajapati just to remind him of his great responsibility in maintaining the peace and prosperity of the citizens. Maharaj Prithu was empowered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead for this purpose only. It is the duty of the ideal king to see that people are properly executing religious principles. Lord Brahma especially requested King Prithu to conquer the pseudo-religious principles produced by King Indra. In other words, it is the duty of the state or king to put a stop to pseudo-religious systems produced by unscrupulous persons. Originally, a religious principle is one, given by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and it comes through the channel of disciplic succession in two forms. Lord Brahma requested Prithu Maharaj to desist from his unnecessary competition with Indra, who was determined to stop Prithu Maharaj from completing 100 yagyas. Instead of creating adverse reactions, it was better for Maharaj Prithu to stop the yagyas in the interest of his original purpose as an incarnation. This purpose was to establish good government and set things in the right order. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Guru Dasa Jayādvaita Swami Niti Namine. My son heard me chanting that pranam mantra and he shouted Jai. I like this line in the purport that Maharaj Prithu was empowered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead for this purpose only, to maintain the peace and prosperity of the citizens. He's being addressed here as Prajapati by Lord Brahma, O protector of the people in general. Please consider the purpose of your being incarnated by Lord Vishnu. Your determination has to be appropriately focused to fulfill the purpose for which you've been incarnated. Pipiprihi. Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur says, Pureya. This fulfilling your purpose. I'm reminded of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asking Haridas Thakur, what is your vyadhi? What is your disease? And he says, Sankhya Kirtana Napuraya. I'm unable to complete my rounds. And Srila Prabhupada says in the purport that if you can't complete your rounds, if you can't complete that which you're supposed to have determination to perform, your duty, then you're to be understood to be in a diseased condition. So Lord Brahma is telling him, you've been created for this purpose. If you're not fulfilling this purpose, then you're just in a diseased condition. This is your vyadhi. So we have the expert Vaidya here giving him direction, or expert manager, as we've discussed in previous verses. Oh, thank you, Ajivarya. Sankalpanam. So this should be your determination. Elsewhere, sankalpa in Bhagavad Gita is used to describe mental speculation. So don't be a mental speculator and have a determination towards something that's not your duty, but you're Prajapati. You're Vishvasrajam. You're the progenitor of the whole world. So protect your population, protect the people, and specifically from pseudo-religious distractions, disturbances. Yesterday we were discussing Deveshu Duravagraha, that Indra is so stubborn, he's not going to be corrected. So you please be corrected and stop this pseudo-religious distraction. I will turn it over to you, Guru Maharaj, but I turn it over with a question. Let's see, it mentions two things. Disciplic succession, here it is. Originally, a religious principle is one, given by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and it comes through the channel of disciplic succession in two forms. I'm just curious what that means, Guru Maharaj.
I was curious about that also, so I did some research, and I couldn't find an answer. The manuscript doesn't disclose anything. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary doesn't touch the topic, so I don't know what those two forms would be. But Prabhupada ends the purport by saying that the purpose was to establish good government, to set things right, to set things in the right order. So again, Prabhupada is saying this is the government's responsibility. Even sometimes the government recognizes that. We brought this up the other day. They see some sort of anomalous behavior. That happened also one of the states in the western side of America when so-called sannyasis moved in to have illicit sex and in the name of religion. The local government stepped in. And finally, I think the federal government also got involved because as irreligious as the leaders of those governments might be, they're not that irreligious. They can, even to them, these things are outrageous. Even to them, these things are outrageous. To be charging big money for some concocted religious instruction, or to be having sex in the name of religion, indiscriminate sex. So even those governments recognized this and stepped in. So Prabhupada approves of that. It's as being the duty of the government. They should see to it that irreligious principles are not promoted in the name of religion. Elsewhere, Prabhupada says the government may not favor any particular religion, but certainly the government should recognize irreligion, big-time irreligion when they see it, and should step in to prevent these things. That's Prabhupada's position. Yes,
I put my hand up. I have a question, Guru Maharaj. To what extent is the decline of true religion by the misuse of independence of living entities, and to what extent is it Krishna's desire that things go downhill in the material world?
I don't think I understood the question. Could we have it again?
To what extent is it the free will of living entities that causes the decline of true religion, or is it Krishna's?
It's not free will, and it's not free will as free will that causes degradation. It's misuse of free will. It's misuse of free will. The free will itself doesn't cause degradation, but when misused, just like there may be gun laws that permit guns so that you can protect your home or whatever you may be doing legitimately. But when you misuse it and use those guns for criminal purposes and so on, that's your responsibility. You can't say, well, it's the government's responsibility. They allowed us to have guns. What do you expect? No, we expect that you'll follow the law. And if you don't, you'll be severely punished. What is that in the Bhagavad Gita? Lokasya srijati prabhu nakartritvam nakarmani lokasya srijati prabhu nakarmam palasanyogam sabhavastu pravartate. The Ishvara, the personality of Godhead, is not responsible for materialistic activities. That's our responsibility. The whole business of turning away from Krishna and aligning ourselves with the three modes of nature, that's our choice. So when we do degraded things, we can't say, well, you gave me free will. And the Lord also gives us direction how to use that free will. If we ignore the Lord's direction and do anything and everything, then it's not the Lord who's created those sinful activities, it's us. Vedanta Sutra also argues that same point. Hare Krishna.
Saraswati Masterji writes, does it mean religious principle is coming down two ways, by person Bhagavata and Bhagavata Grantha?
I have no idea what it means. Whether it means it's coming from the north and the south, or from the east to the west, or from person Bhagavata, book Bhagavata, I have no idea. There's just no hint that I could discern as to what those two ways might be. Hare Krishna.
Praveen Prabhu writes, when Bhaktivinoda Thakur was informed by the higher caste families that the Ativadi is degrading the society by illicit sex with family women in the name of Dharma, he took it on to arrest and punish him. He and his family had to face dangers for that.
Yes, good example. Bhaktivinoda Thakur wasn't bewildered even when the common people said, oh, your family is sick because you offended an incarnation of Vishnu. Bhaktivinoda Thakur was not bewildered or deterred. He stuck to it and performed that duty. All right.
Okay.
Yeah, Madhupati posted the verse from Bhagavad Gita in the cartridge from. It's 5:14. Well, is there anything else before we jump back into kirtan?
No.
I think the next verse. Yeah, why don't we?
Do you have anybody to Maharaj?
I'm all by myself.
Okay. I've been missing some of the classes, so Guru Maharaj, would you like to nominate anybody?
Excuse me?
Would you like to nominate somebody? I don't want to like put the same person on again, like I did the other day.
Well, you are in charge, but well, we have Krishna Kontiya, we have Radhesha, whichever
Sure, Konteya Prabhu, are
would
you?
like to take it up. Who's there? Naveen's also there. We don't hear kirtan from him so much.
Jai Krishna Konteya Prabhu.
Okay.
Okay. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Gaura Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Nitai Gaura Hari Bo, Nitai Gaura Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Gaura Hari Bo, Nitai Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Bo, Vishnu Bhadai, Krishna Vistaya Bhutale, Srimati Guru Das Jayādvaita Maharaj, Iti Namine, Jayam Vishnupad, Paramahamsa, Parad Jagacharya, Astrotar Sadishi Srimad, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai, Namacharya Sri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai, Ring Se Kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita, Gadadhar, Shivasari, Gaur, Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai, Jai, all gurus, Shri Shri Guru Angaranga, Jai, all devotees Ki Jai. Hare Krishna.
Bhagavatam Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, His Holiness Jayādvaita Swami Ki Jai.
Samaveta Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai.
Jai. Hari Hari Bo, Hari
Hari
Bo, Hari Bo.
Maybe before we leave, I should just note that yesterday our dear devotee Vrindavan Chandra Prabhu from Tuaco passed away. He was sometimes with us on this conference in the early days when we were just starting during the COVID pandemic. So he and he's been a devoted, staunch servant of the Lord at his Kantuako for decades. So he had a fall and broke his spine and passed away yesterday in the Association of Devotees. So we'll miss him. There's a wonderful Vaishnava. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Krishna, Krishna.
And on that sober note, Vansha Kolpatarubhyascha Patasanubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo. Vrindavan Chandra Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Gaur Premanande.
Hari 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 Bo, Hari Bo, Hare Krishna. Krishna. Okay.